Hey guys, it's Ty the Dog Guy here, and I've been going through a lot of the questions that you guys have been sending me and determining what kind of content that I wanted to create for what it is you're looking to do. And one thing keeps coming up over and over and over again. And I don't know if this is you, and if you have this question. And so the question I get all the time, I'm even reading through my notes. The question I get all the time here is, how do I get my dog to listen to me? I just want my dog to listen to me. Is that you? You know, have you ever found yourself saying, oh, this dog doesn't listen to anything I want the dog to do, and you get frustrated and you don't know what to do? But in reality, this question for me is almost as frustrating as getting your dog to listen to you is for you. And the reason why is because it's the wrong question. You know, it's like you go, let's say, you know, your car is completely broken and you go to the mechanic and you say, hey, how do I fix my car? You know, the mechanic is like, well, what is it? Is it transmission? Is it the engine? Is it is it the fuel line? Is it this? Is it that? You know, and it's such a broad question that it's so difficult to answer unless you have more information on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my top secret, my number one thing that I teach all of my clients here at our company here in Utah. I'm going to share with you what that program is for getting your dog to listen to you. And so if you need to go ahead and pause this video, pause the video, take some notes, because what I'm going to show you is what it takes to get a dog to listen to you anywhere, anytime, with any distraction, etc., etc., etc. Because like I said, there's a very simple formula. It's simple, but it's just maybe not easy, and I'm going to get into that here in a second. So what that point is, reading my notes here, guys, what that point is, like I said, the obedience formula, what we're going to do is, if you want your dog to listen to you every time, anywhere, any place, any distraction, whatever, what you have to do is follow this formula. Give one free command. Now, free means a command that you're going to give your dog that it's free. There's no correction, there's no treat, there's no food, there's no anything. It's just you simply say sit, or you simply say down, or you simply say come, or whatever. So one free command. If your dog obeys, that's great. You're simply going to reinforce that obedience with some simple praise. Now, praise can be, you could use that treat if you want. You can a pat on the head, good boy, whatever, what have you. But you have to reinforce the good behavior. Now, if your dog doesn't listen, then you must repeat the command with some sort of reinforcement. So, for example, if I told my dog to sit and he doesn't sit, he's... I'm going to just repeat sit with maybe a little tug on the leash. If I told my dog to come and he doesn't come, maybe a little pull on the leash or something like that. We're talking a correction here. It doesn't have to be hard. The idea is not to cause pain to the dog at all. In fact, if you are causing pain, you're doing it wrong. The idea is simply to grab the dog's attention. You see, dogs are physical learners. They're not verbal learners. And this is one of the biggest mistakes that people make. I'm going to go back to my obedience formula here in a second. Allow me to get just a little bit off topic. Is one of the biggest mistakes that people make is they constantly give commands that they don't back up. And so they're telling the dog sit, come down, stay here, heel, whatever. They're telling the dog to do these things, and then they don't back it up. And so the dog realizes very quickly, I don't have to do it, or I'll do it if I want to. Have you ever heard that before? Or have you ever said that before? I hear it all the time. People say, oh, my dog's only obedient if he feels like it. When in reality, that's exactly what they train the dog to do. They trained the dog to be obedient when he felt like it, because that's all they did, is they just insisted that, hey, if you're not obedient, I'm not going to do anything about it. So what does this mean? This means in the beginning stages, you have to keep your dog on a leash. And I've mentioned this in one of our other videos, so hopefully, you can go check out that video as well. But you've got to keep your dog on a leash in the beginning stages of training, because you have to have that ability to back up whatever you say. All right, so let me get back to the obedience formula. One free command, that's step number one. Step number two, if your dog obeys, you reinforce with praise. Step number three, if your dog disobeys, you repeat the command with some sort of reinforcement. It might be leash, might be simply physically helping the dog do it, whatever the case might be. And step number four is then praise. So even if you have to correct your dog, the second the dog then does it, you need to praise. And then step number five is you need to insist on permanence. And what I mean by that is, if you said sit, just keep sitting. Keep having the dog sit. If you told the dog to heel, make sure the dog keeps heeling. If you told the dog to stay, make sure the dog keeps staying, or whatever the case might be. And again, that's where the leash comes in. And so those 5 steps, if you need to go back and rewind and take notes, but those 5 steps applied in your living room will get your dog to be obedient the first time every time. In your kitchen, in your backyard, in your front yard, at the park, at camping, at wherever, those 5 steps will get your dog to be obedient anytime, any place, anywhere, any distraction. I can guarantee it to you because I have trained literally thousands of dogs at this point. And this is how it works, folks. If you apply that obedience formula, your dog very quickly gets to a point where he realizes that this is just what you expect, that you expect him to be obedient the first time, every time. No dog's perfect, but essentially we're going to get as close to perfection as possible. So like I say, I mentioned in the beginning that this is simple, it's just not easy. It's simple because those 5 things, the obedience formula, is very easy to understand, right? Where it's not easy is applying it. And so that's where, you know, some of the future videos that I'm going to be sharing with you are going to be a big help to you as well. But what I want you thinking about as you're watching these videos, as you're doing anything with your dog, is obedience formula. Are you applying it or are you not? If your dog is not being obedient with reliability, I can tell you you're not applying it. You're not applying it, you know, at least well. You maybe think you are, but you're not applying it. So hopefully this has been of help to you. Make sure that you're checking your email so that you can see the other exclusive content that I'm going to be sending you. Thank you for subscribing. And lastly, if you want to see how we apply this obedience formula to any command, anytime, any place, anywhere, just go ahead and click the button that is on this page and it'll take you there. And I look forward to seeing you on the other side.